Okay. So we last talked on November 22nd.
And we talked about a 10-game thing, right?
Uh-huh.
And we're all wrong.
And we're all wrong.
Wait a minute.
Well,
wait, wait.
My numbers were backwards. We won 6, lost 4. So
I thought we went 7-3.
Did we?
Yeah, I think.
Oh, I don't know what happened in Saturday's game.
Saturday they won 1-0. Saturday though, let's talk about Saturday for a second because Saturday could have gone either way. I mean, that was probably Saturday was one of those games like it could have gone a number of ways because both teams were playing like that consistently type of thing.
6 and 6. 7 and 3. Joe's right. Sorry.
Yeah. So Joe was the closest out of all of us. Although in our defense, Jen, they almost blew it Friday.
Okay.
Friday.
What happened Friday?
Friday against the Caps.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
They dominated the first 2 periods. Dominated. Then the third period, I'm like, who are you?
Well, that's kind of like a thing with Pittsburgh. They get this lead and they kind of get comfortable. And you can't get comfortable against teams that are actually better than you. And okay, sure, we did beat the Capitals, but I still feel they're a better team than us up and down the board. Sue me. I don't care what you think. Not you guys primarily, but I mean the listeners. But you can't. You got to hold on to the lead, and you can't get comfortable. You got to keep like. I mean, you got to keep playing hard. I don't know. You can't just let up. What a motley crew of a lineup we had that night. And I mean, I was actually really impressed. I think the first time I really witnessed a little bit of chemistry, and it was like lines that we're not used to seeing. So I wonder what's going to happen when everyone gets healthy and comes back. Are we going to go back to our old way, or are we going to kind of build on what's working? I mean, Sullivan seems to struggle with the lineups time and time again. He's kind of a creature of habit. So
it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It almost happens every year where there's injuries. The team rallies and plays well. And then when everybody's healthy, the team goes to crap.
Oh,
for whatever reason.
It's the Penguins MO. Like, think about even like the 3 times they've won the cup in the Crosby era. They've had injuries galore all 3 times. So it's like, and I don't ever like to say that injuries are a blessing in disguise, but with Gensel getting hurt, it forced Sullivan to experiment. And it's been a pleasant surprise, to Jen's point, seeing players actually gel. And let's talk about Evan Rodriguez actually like completely thriving.
That's
beautiful.
It's amazing.
We've seen that in the 2
We've
cup
seen
runs.
it before.
You know, the younger kids are the ones that don't get enough looks, really like rising to the challenge and showing that they are, as much an NHL caliber player as say the likes of Gensel and Rust. And I would at this point be wondering about Rust's security on the top line. Now, if I were the coach, I would be looking more at it's Evan, right? Rodriguez?
Yeah.
Because he is a player that's going to give everything he's got under the right circumstances. So you put him with the likes of Sydney, and he knows that he's got that pressure on him to perform. So you're going to get the most out of him. Whereas for instance, Rust, granted, he's been good for us at times. I just don't think he is top line material anymore. I think Rodriguez has taken that spot, and Sullivan would be a fool to change that. Sorry, Brian, but it's always the best man for the job, right?
Okay, but let's look at this lineup, like with everyone healthy. Let's look at this lineup. You have Crosby, Gensel, and then let's say Evan Rodriguez. Okay, that's your first line. Your second line will be Malkin, Kapanen, and let's say Danton Heinen.
It's gonna be Zucker.
Not Rust, even though Rust and Malkin have always had chemistry.
Kapanen can Rust. Yeah, but
that was the question I was going to pose.
But can you move one of them onto the other wing because you've got Rust and can they play both sides? I don't know.
Exactly.
That's a problem.
So the third line could be Carter, Zucker, Rust.
That would be a good line. But you want to know something? I really liked how Zucker, Gino, and Kapanen played in the playoffs last year, was it? And a bit through the season. Like, do they have some spunk on them? But then again, are we even going to see the same Gino?
That's the question. That's the other question. I mean, we've heard this before. We've heard this. Gino is hurt. Gino looks great in practice. Then Gino plays. So that's the other question.
I want to know what Gino looking good in practice now means, because
he wore suits.
Gino is 35 years old.
Right.
But, he's not getting any younger. Like, we've seen older players in the league, like his Russian counterpart Ovechkin's got another chunk in his steps. Yeah, Ovechkin's chasing Gretzky, right? So Ovechkin's like,
okay, but that's just sorry to interrupt. Ovechkin has
go ahead. Sorry.
Ovechkin is possessed. He's on a mission to reach an individual. Why can't Malkin find something to kind of inspire him to play like, you know what I mean? Like,
that's what I was going to get at, is the difference between Malkin and Ovechkin. And that's always been the struggle, right? Is, the things that separate players like Crosby and Ovechkin, from, Malkin, for example. I think what really, the difference with Malkin is super talented, but he doesn't have what I call the intrinsic motivation. He doesn't always, when he is on, he is the best player in the world, but we haven't seen that best player in the world for 4 or 5 years from Malkin.
Or 10.
Okay, but Ovechkin is a freak.
Ovechkin is an absolute freak.
Do you know that he
can be a freak?
He drinks Pepsi and Dr. Pepper during games, and he has a giant chicken parm dinner before a game. He's a freak.
Okay, well, that's not working. So let's let's get some leaner meat in there, some good greens, maybe switch to some, I don't know, BioSteel or some Gatorade.
Well, that's Ovechkin that does that.
Sugar-free. But it's not working for Gino. Guys, I've been a Pens fan since 2015, and I've seen Gino play in like 15 good games.
Well, and that's the thing.
Joe, I love you. I'm sorry to look at me like that.
No, Jen, you're not wrong. Jen, you're not wrong.
No, I agree.
We haven't seen this. We haven't seen the Gino that, I don't even know if I want to call it. We haven't seen the Gino that fans who have followed him since his earlier years. No, we have not seen him in quite some time. I mean, like, even during those 2 cup runs, like the latter cup runs, there were glimpses. But I mean, we really haven't. So pre-Sullivan, okay, Gino used to have these, especially like when Crosby was out, Gino would just go like full throttle. Like, he would just like, he was on a tear. It was just like, it was stupid. He was the best player in the world by a long shot.
And then when Crosby comes back, he sucked.
Like, but that's kind of like goes both ways. That goes both ways with them for some reason.
But Crosby, though, it's weird because you look at Crosby's history, like, even with Malkin, like, he'll still have those levels, right? But Malkin, his highest points in his career were always when Crosby was hurt. Like, even back in the 2010-2011 season, there was that month span, when Malkin was healthy, before Malkin got hurt and Crosby had his, first known concussion, as I'm going to call it. Malkin was tearing the world on fire. And then he got hurt in, January 2011. And, and then even 2012, when he, that next season, he came back and he tore it up. And it's always just like whenever Crosby is out.
Those 15 games that I was speaking about were actually when Sidney was out. Gino really rises to the challenge, the occasion.
And what's crazy is, and I don't mean to say this against him personally, but he says, he always talks about how much he loves Sid. But it's always been mind-boggling to me, and Joe, please feel free to interject on this, It's always been mind-boggling to me how you can love someone so much, but yet you can't be your best when that person's around. Am I saying that the right way?
You think? Yeah, no. You know what?
It's a psychological thing.
Like, does he does he not want to upshine Sydney? No, he's Russian. The Russians have a different mindset. Or two, does he not want to look like, oh, he tries his best and he's not the player people thought he was up against?
I don't think it's a conscious thing. I don't think he says, well, I better not play as well today because Sid's on the ice too. I think it is a subconscious. I think it is a subconscious thing.
And now
I believe it is. I believe it is as well. Like, and Joe, you can probably elaborate on this a little bit more, but I feel like in some ways it could be comparable to the Lemieux-Jágr dynamic. In some ways,
that was a different thing because Jágr was
not going to upstage the other player.
Well,
I mean Jágr was insane.
but Jágr was a right wing, and Mario would play with. No, wait, but you have a great point there. Mario would play when earlier in Jágr's career. Mario would play with Jágr, and that was like Mario, Jágr, and Kevin Stevens was one of the greatest lines in NHL history. But when Mario retired in '97 and it became Jágr's team, then Jágr was just fine carrying the entire team on his back because those were some bad teams in the late '90s, and he carried them. Okay, but then Mario came out of retirement. And Jágr's like, I'm out of here. He's like, and
that's what I was getting at was like, even when Lemieux was diagnosed with Hodgkin's, right? It was like, whenever Jágr had the opportunity to put the team on his back, he thrived. And that's the same thing with Malkin.
Go ahead, Jen.
And that's what scares me.
Can we try Sidney and Gino on a line together?
Oh my God, I've been saying this for years. Why can we not have them on the same line?
It used to happen, Jen. It used to happen.
It used to happen. You can have a center move to wing. I mean, I would put Gino on Sidney's wing, obviously. Yes. But I mean, let's try that because then Gino can shine while making himself look good and Sidney looking good. And Sidney always makes his wingers look good. Like Sullivan, if you're listening, this is something we need to try. If we want to bring the best out of Gino, if we really want to let Gino shine without any of his subconscious blockages, we need to try this line together. And right now we can play with it. Like this team is inclining and we've got the solid resources. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing Jeff Carter as a second line center. I mean, he stands up. He was one of our best face-off men. He's got the big body. He plays hard. And we can decorate the wingers however we need to be. And I mean, even our bottom six aren't even that bad when you look at Heinen. Was it Heinen? I don't have my notes in front of me. Heinen, who was he playing with?
Right now it's Carter, Zucker, and Heinen, maybe.
No, the third line.
Third line is Bluger, Zach Aston, Reese, and McGinn.
Ew.
And then the fourth line is Boyle,
so you
O'Connor,
maybe keep
and
that.
Simone.
Okay, here's the thing. There's a way to make this work, Jen. I mean, Crosby and Malkin did it early in their careers when they were playing under Michel Therrien. Okay, Michel Therrien loved to throw them together if a spark was needed.
Exactly, like very briefly, like when they're down or something like that.
Correct. When the spark was needed, he would put them together. Typically, Malkin on Crosby's wing because Crosby was the better face-off guy, and you want Malkin's physical presence on the wing, and it worked. It was not a long-term viable option, but anytime they were together, it worked.
I'm talking all the time.
I want this line. Which way does Gino shoot?
I'm okay with that.
What way does he shoot?
I'm not sure.
He's left, I believe.
I'm going to play with these lineups tonight, and I'm going to put Gino on the wing. I'm going to put Gino on the first line and see what I can do with this.
I mean, Gino hasn't been on the wing since probably 2009, maybe 2000. Bilesma used to do it once in a while as well. He did not experiment with it as much as Michel Therrien, but
Well, you think you take your
do it
players and you put them line 1 and 2, but hell no, put them together. If this is what could breathe life into Gino's game, then I'm all in.
I think it's time. Committed. I think it's time to have them.
I don't think Malkin can handle being a center anymore. I'm just going to say it.
I don't think Malkin can handle being a hockey player anymore. I mean, he's not mentally. Hear me out, because I'm not saying he's. I know this is hard, guys. You got to remember, I'm a new Penguin fan.
No. This, Jen, this is not hard. Just go. This is not hard. So, I'm just laughing.
I know I'm going to lose so many people are going to be yelling at me. Okay, so Gino is not living up to his potential. Okay, we see bursts of it. So in order to breathe life into his game, we need to take the pressure off him. Bringing him up to play with Sydney, they've already got this natural chemistry. Okay, they are friends. Right? They talk to each other daily. They hang out, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Now, if you want to take that mental pressure off Gino, you bring him up to play with his buddy. That's when the magic happens. That's when the pressure comes off and the boys have some fun. Why do you think the Sedin brothers were lined together? Because they had that natural, organic chemistry. And I think at the bottom of my heart, I think if we give Gino that chance to play up with Sydney and not just on the power play unit, we're going to see Gino be resurrected. He's going to come up from the ashes and he's going to play like nothing he's ever played before. And this can't happen in just 1 or 2 games. We need to give it, a good, 5 to 10 games for it to work. But I will bet your sweet bottoms, as much money as I have in my account or as many hockey cards as I have, I don't know, that this will work. And it's something that Sullivan needs to consider, because we do have the space to play with it right now. Like I said, we've got Carter and he'd be a solid center line second line center.
And here's the other thing too. I believe that Carter has earned his spot to stay in the top 6.
He has been our best hockey player.
And you are in so much pain right now.
It hurts. He has been so good for Pittsburgh. It's unbelievable. He's not quite that gel guy like Marc-Andre Fleury was or Matt Cullen was. I mean, he's not completely that. He's a little intimidating, I'll be honest. But he works his butt off and he plays the game well. And I mean, I will never be a Jeff Carter fan because, the shark in me won't allow it. But I am a huge Pittsburgh Penguins Jeff Carter fan. He has been.
How do you think old Penguins fans feel because we still see him in a Flyers sweater?
I forgot about. I mean, I don't think of him. I don't think of him as the enemy.
I will never forget that.
Let's talk about Hextall.
I will never forget that.
Him I still think is the enemy. I still think he's a sleeper agent. But you know what?
Yeah.
Who could really use a Hextall right now? The Flyers. They are a mess.
So I saw the Flyers here a couple weeks ago. It was right after our last discussion, actually. And I mentally prepared. I'm sitting there and, Carter Hart has been hyped up for years, right? He's won World Juniors.
He's not young.
I want to say he's like 22 or 23 because he came up in the league. Because I remember seeing him live in one of his first NHL games, and this was like December 2018. Okay,
he's 23.
Okay, I was gonna say 22 or 23, and I didn't think all the goals were his fault, but I'm just sitting there and I'm like, this team does not play in front of him. The Flyers made all these big acquisitions this offseason. That is a team who does not want to be there. Didn't
a cop dog take a dump on their?
Yes, a dog pooped on the logo. That's
that
says everything.
That is seriously,
awesome.
There are some teams in the league right now who are struggling. But the Flyers are a team who just do not I don't get it. Like, you went out and you traded a glue guy like Jakub Voracek for Cam Atkinson, okay? Which was really funny because they used to be teammates. And I went to the game. Andrew couldn't make it. And he's like, how did Atkinson look? I'm like, dude, I didn't know he was there. And then I saw the 89 jersey and I'm like, there he is.
I don't get the Flyers and I don't get the Islanders. They have one of the worst records in the league.
I can speak on that. They have not been
What happened to
healthy.
the Islanders?
They have not been healthy. They've had so many players out injured. I think at one point they've been playing with an AHL team. I don't think that we can really talk about the Islanders or give them any criticism until after the Olympic break or whatever it is. I think they'll come back.
Yeah, I was going to say the Islanders are a very resilient team, so I wouldn't buy too much into their record right now. They're a team who's going to play all 82 games and they're not going to give up. So I would not. I'm with Jen. I would never, as long as Barry Trotz is the coach of the Islanders, I am not writing them off.
You know what? We're only a quarter of the way into the season. We still have 75% of this season left. So you're right. Hey, the Flyers or the Islanders can make a run and they could.
No, the Flyers are the Flyers.
The Flyers.
They're toast. They're done. They won't even be able to regain themselves.
They have Mike Yeo as their interim coach. You really think something's going to happen with them? The answer is no.
No. The Islanders, no, they'll come back. Barry Trotz is one of the best in the business, and they've got a good team. Everyone's counting them out. You know, don't sleep on a team that's currently resting, because think about it. When you have an excessive amount of rest on your body and your mental game, and then you come back, you're coming out and you're shooting hard. Okay. And I mean, that's a weak metaphor and it's kind of fitting at the same time, but I still see the Islanders making a push for the playoffs.
Yeah. We're still very young into the season. We still got 3 quarters left. So yeah, I could see that.
Anything could happen. Think about it. The Penguins are usually in a position, historically speaking, the Penguins are in a bubble type position this time of year, right? There are some here. Well, I don't know why my light's not staying on. Sorry, guys. Being a little butt. What I was going to say is, like, I just think about, especially 09 and 16 going into, the holidays, how much the Penguins were struggling. And then even other years, the Penguins don't really define themselves. We see some teams define themselves a quarter of the way through the season. The Penguins have never been one of those teams. So what I'm going to call
Go ahead.
The inconsistency, we don't have to worry about that right now because they've had that cold streak. They've had that hot streak. I would argue right now they're still on a kind of hot streak, right? Like 7-3 in the last 10 games. But I still say, talk to me after the All-Star break. That's when I'll tell you exactly how this team is.
I think the best team, the team that's going to have the most success, sees the season as a marathon, not a sprint. So Correct. It's not so much about, gaining. Okay, I'm going to use the Maple Leafs as an example of this because they seem to give more during regular season than they do in the postseason. And that's a problem that they have when they reach the postseason. They don't have that what's the endurance. They don't have the legs left because they blew it all out in the regular season. The Penguins are smart in this regard, that they build their wins slowly, right? You know what I'm saying? They take it slowly. The Penguins are actually a really bad example because we've been suffering with so many injuries. But on the same token, we're not blowing out all our steam early in regular season. We kind of come out swinging after the All-Star break / Olympic break. And then that's when you start to see us build. And that's when you start to see them rise to the top of the Eastern Conference or the Metro Division or whatever, right? They're smart in that regard. Whereas the Leafs, on the other hand, they're like, balls to the wall. Let's go. We're winning. Oh, we're in first in the league. And then you're swept in the first round or close to that. You know what I mean? The Penguins are a smart team in that regard. And then there's the anomaly, like the Capitals. For some reason, they're just good all the time.
Well, this is why a certain development that's happened since the last time we talked is that's been, I think, very important, is Casey DeSmith is actually okay. And if he is a viable backup, then you don't have to burn out Tristan Jarry because they
still
basically
not
were.
Sold on either goalie. I mean, Jari's been great. Don't get me wrong, but the goals he lets in are questionable. Casey had that one big win, which I cried after. I was so happy, you guys. I was so happy for him that day. But I'm still not sold on either goalie.
I would say he actually had two big wins. Not to interrupt you here. I mean, Seattle is not a great team. The Anaheim win for me was a bigger win.
I missed that game. I didn't see that game
because Anaheim is a solid young team that, you know, has been kind of holding back for a number of years, and they finally got all their young guys, and they're finally, you know, starting to come together. And I mean, that is a strong young team. I don't think they're a contender, but they play a full 60 minutes. So for, you know, DeSmith to play the way he did. Huh?
Anaheim's 8th overall.
That's what, yeah, they're a good team.
Yeah, they're good. And what was even more impressive about that win over Anaheim is it was for the Penguins. It was a second game of a back-to-back.
I didn't watch it.
And then for Anaheim, it was the first of a back-to-back. They've been on this huge East Coast swing because I watched them play Columbus on, I want to say Thursday. They beat them in a shootout. Now, Gibson did get hurt. Hometown boy John Gibson did get hurt Saturday in the second period. They didn't say it doesn't sound like it's anything severe though. But the bottom line is, you know, Anaheim's got that mix of youngsters and veterans that every team wants. And I mean, they've got a ton of young talent that's, you know, come out. So for me, the DeSmith's performance on Saturday was super impressive. And
this is why they won.
His post-game presser.
This is why they won, because they wore these throwback 90s jerseys. That's why they won on Saturday. These things are gorgeous.
Oh, I want that. Oh my God. Remember when they brought out the white version of that? And I'm like, I can't have that because me and white and red wine, no bueno. So
it'll look like you were bleeding or something.
Yeah. Right? Well, I remember when they announced the reverse retros. I'm like, why are you doing the white?
I hate the white. I hate the white. But give me, I'm getting one of those black ones. I think it's
none of my jerseys are white, and well, except for I have a Crosby All-Star Montreal All-Star Game jersey. It's white. It's in plastic. It's never come out of plastic. But white is not a good color because, you know, like, I mean, especially in Pittsburgh, you know, you could piss off a road fan and they could throw a beer on you. And I'm just kind of,
that's happened to me a couple times where I've worn, like, I have a few white jerseys and I had one, we don't know if it was on accident or on purpose, but somebody behind me, like, threw their, I don't know if he was like that drunk and his beer just, I wasn't actually paying attention. Like he wasn't even mean to me or anything, but then I have beer all over my jersey and it was like a brand new jersey on top of it. And I'm like, and with the cost, it was like literally the first, yeah. And you figure I have probably 30 jerseys in my collection. Now, most of them the vast majority are not white. Two of the ones that are white are both my Chris Kunitz ones, of course. That's just the way it works. Just the way it works. But yeah, it was like, I've had beer thrown on me a couple times and yeah, the one time was in a white jersey and I'm like, first off, what did I do to you? I didn't say anything. I mean, he apologized profusely and I really wanted to say, like, go buy me a beer then. Like, I want a beer.
Go buy me a jersey then. What are you talking about? That thing better wash out.
Oh no, it did wash out. It did wash out.
But it's more than that. Like, for women, like, if you wear makeup, I mean, even like, I very rarely wear the face makeup because, you know, it's whatever, but the odd time I do, and the odd time that I do wear face makeup and I wear white jersey, I go like this and then I go like this and it's toast. The oils in that makeup does not come out of jerseys. So when I saw that white penguin, because it's Pittsburgh, that's so beautiful. Literally, aside from that logo on your beautiful head right there, Joe, other jersey that I appreciate in Pittsburgh, that Pittsburgh across diagonally, it turns all my cranks. And I am so happy we brought out the black. And who's buying me one for Christmas?
People, Santa. I should get you that for the podcast appearance fee but that's Gosh, that's it's not a cheap gift. But anyway, people
They make them in China though for like $40. I mean, I know you would never do that, would you?
Born Trade 20.0, because I think that's where Born Trade's at right now.
I've
never in my life bought a rip-off jersey. I'm just gonna say it, but I have bought a lot of rip-off clothing. You know, like what's that clothing company? Something 412 in Pittsburgh.
Oh, Shop 412. Nobody. There's a ban on Shop 412.
Isn't licensed, but I have so much of their stuff because I'm obsessed with Pittsburgh, guys.
Anytime anybody brings up, hey, bring back this logo, people get so mad. Like, we never win anything with that. Shut up. It's a gorgeous thing. It's the
Robo Penguin?
Yeah, Robo Penguin. People get mad when you say bring back.
Well, I call it the pigeon.
Yes, it does look like a constipated pigeon, but still.
Yeah, I call it the pigeon, and let's face it.
It's the head of a penguin and a triangle. It's like,
let's face it, when the Penguins wore the pigeon logo, they were going through some tumultuous times with Lemieux being in retirement and coming back.
Not wear that jersey.
And then Yager wore it. That's honestly, when I see the pigeon, I think of Yager.
This is also a gorgeous jersey.
One of the most infamous. Like, isn't he still playing somewhere?
He's playing in the Czech Republic. Yeah,
he owns the team or something like that.
Didn't he just turn 77 last week? Like,
50, same difference.
I mean, Gordie Howe played till he was 51, 52. Yager's still playing pro hockey is a huge testament. The man is a machine, and if he was able to come back to Pittsburgh and play one game and retire, he'd still score a hat trick. I mean, wearing that Robo jersey. Let's make it happen. Hextall.
I wish that they would allow like specialists. I wish they would allow like just Yager on a power play would be amazing. Just let him play the power play. Yeah. But
did it just get hot here?
Yeah, how cool would that be?
Oh man.
It's got hot in here. But when Yager was supposed to come back, I think in like 2012, something like that.
Yeah, summer of 2011, and I don't like talking about it.
Yeah, and instead he went to the Flyers. That broke my heart.
What is that like a comment here? Max Talbot went to the Flyers. Yager goes to the Flyers.
That was the same year.
Well, Talbot, I understand because hey, money's money, and he got good money. But Yager, my goodness, that just broke my heart because I was so excited to see him come.
I went to shirt off your back night that year. It was an afternoon game. I think it was like Easter weekend, and the Pens won 4-2, but the only 2 goals scored by the Flyers were from Talbot and Yager.
I don't like that.
I hurt. And I remember sitting there watching that game too, knowing that the Pens, I can't remember if it was cemented that the Pens were playing the Flyers in the playoffs that year, but it was at least like a very likely conclusion. And I remember sitting there watching this game. I'm like, there's no way the Pens are beating them in the playoffs. Like, even though they beat them that game. And people thought I was crazy. I'm like, no, there's just something. I'm like, the Flyers are holding something back. And sure enough, I was right.
I'm offended.
I can never be mad at Max Talbot. I mean, he won us the cup in 2009.
I mean, I can. A little bit.
He can, okay.
If you're listening, you know what? I'm going to shut up now.
Okay.
Moving on.
They were talking about having Rick Tocchet be the coach of the Flyers, and that would be weird.
It would be very weird considering his history.
Right. Flyers legend, then Penguins legend, then Penguins assistant coach legend, then now maybe Flyers coach.
Well, and here would be my question too. Do you think Tocchet would give up his cushy TV job?
Yes. A coach is a coach. Yes. And this is the coach and me speaking. And would I go coach the Philadelphia Flyers? Hell yeah. As a double agent. Let's go.
But here's the problem. Tocchet's a double agent for both.
You know what? Talkit has this kind of like, we spoke about loyalty with Pitt, University of Pitt, and their success. Kudos to them on that. And that how you both have this like legiancy or this loyalty towards your
they have my money. They have my money. That's why.
Mater.
Yeah, alma mater, and they have my money.
Okay, well that's it too. But I think Talkit is all Pittsburgh, and I mean cushy TV job with like on ESPN or TNT.
He's on TNT, and I was watching him. I think it was actually before Penn's Oilers. It was him, Bissonnette, Anson Carter.
I saw that they interviewed Sid, right?
Yeah.
And I think Bissonnette was like, Sid, please tell him we actually played together, right? So
that was so funny.
That was funny. But
hilarious.
The whole thing with would you take a cushy TV job or go back to coaching? Yeah, but I mean, Talkit's 57. He doesn't have to, but the thing is, there's a lot less stress with a cushy TV job.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying.
But nobody takes analysts seriously. I'm sorry, but my goal has been to coach in the NHL since I like cracked double digits. So when I was 11, and there is nothing better in my life. Like, I mean, I love doing the podcast and talking about hockey with you guys, but there is nothing more satisfying in my life than to coach an NHL team to the Stanley Cup final as a head coach. If you've ever been an assistant coach or bird's eye in the sky up in the gondola watching down, because that's where Talkit was before he was moved down in Pittsburgh to assistant coach, you want to get there. And if all the coaches I've spoken to in the past, they will keep doing this until they cannot stand anymore. I'm telling you. If I'm wrong, then the NHL needs to come and talk to me because I have that passion to coach. Whereas you're bringing in people that just want to make money. Whereas I just want to win.
And here's the thing. I want to ask you this, Jen, because we've seen the NHL, we've seen 2 fired coaches in the past week or so, and both have tapped into what I like to call the coaching carousel. Okay.
Thank you.
Well,
it's the same people all the time.
With the coaching carousel. So
the old boys club.
The old boys club. It's the same people all the time that get hired.
With Boudreaux and Yeo, right? So
Bruce Boudreaux's not a bad coach, and he's done well in Vancouver thus far.
He has. He's not a bad coach, but again, it's the whole coaching carousel thing.
Like hey ho, he ho, whatever. He's not the coach. Okay.
But here's my question. I'm going to play devil's advocate here. You almost have to wonder. Do you wonder if Talkit is maybe burned out in a sense?
No.
I'm not saying he doesn't want to go back to coaching, but do you think? Because I've heard coaches in other sports.
Well, he didn't find any success in Arizona, which can be a little soul sucking. True.
And that's what I'm saying is that maybe he needs the year break.
Or F him and bring up some fresh blood. Let's get some women in these positions. Yes,
we can be a little
in one of those coaches.
But we don't be one of those. Like, you know what? Any NHL team that I was brought on, I except for the Kings. I mean, I can't do it. I just can't.
Well,
I just can't.
And hopefully it happens soon.
I've been waiting like 30 years. 30 years.
I mean, look at Cammy Granato, okay? Cammy Granato is one of the most prominent hockey players all time, men or women, okay? She is the first woman to break into a front office. And think about how long she's been in the game.
And think about how I've never heard of her.
So she was on the 98 U.S. women's team, and she's been a coach for a number of years since. She also happens to be the coach of, the wife of Ray Ferraro, which I didn't even know for a number of years because I always knew her by herself.
Who's that?
Ray Ferraro, the analyst for ESPN, and he played in the league for a number of years.
Talking about Everybody Loves Raymond.
No. But it's just crazy to me how many prominent women women players there have been who've transitioned into coaching who haven't got a chance. And that's what, and I'm saying that in defense of you.
We need new blood.
The problem that most men have with women knowing more about hockey than them is they can't handle it. And then you bring in a woman that's never actually technically played organized hockey and they tell you what to do, they can't handle it. There's very few that can. And this old boys club that we're dealing with will never be broken until they give a chance to someone that nobody would expect and would have actual success. So you don't have to look necessarily, okay, we're looking at, and this is no disrespect to any of the women hockey players out there, because I think you're phenomenal, but it doesn't necessarily have to be an ex-player. You need to have someone who can be, unbiased, who knows the game, who's willing to do whatever it takes to win, and knows how to bring out the best in their players. Something I think women 10 out of 10 will always do better than men. And I don't mean this in a sexual manner. I will blow up to 500 pounds and still do a damn good job getting the best out of my players, because it takes will, where women are never going to be given that chance because we're deemed as distractions. We're deemed as, well, if she's attractive, is it going to cause complications for the players? Well, not if we're not there. Like, personally, me, I think hockey players are disgusting. They smell horrible. If you ever walk down a tunnel with hockey players, like, you do not think of them romantically at all. You think like, oh, like, just ew. But if you
that's
can
actually all male athletes, for the record.
Maybe, but I've only ever dealt with hockey players. So
I've dealt with football, baseball, basketball, all of them.
You're right, but
hockey players might be the worst, though.
I want to pose this really quick. If baseball can do it, if baseball can have women coaches, if basketball can have women coaches, if football can have women coaches, and let's face it, in football, none of those women actually played football. Okay? Why can't it happen in hockey?
Exactly.
Exactly.
It's a barrier that needs to be broken, and we'll see. We'll see. I think it's also a respect thing, and certain players are just sexist and said, like, "What do you know? You're a girl," which is just terrible.
More than you, baby.
Huh. Yeah. So
I'm sorry.
Let's hope it gets better.
That one woman breakthrough, and I mean, like, look at what was that goalie's name that played for an exhibition game in Tampa Bay? Manon
Rhéaume.
Yeah, Rhéaume.
Okay, so she got to play a game, and she's the only female that's played in an NHL exhibition game in 20 years, and
because even Sabatos never did.
It's never the respect on that has okay. Okay, let me double back here. Women don't belong in the NHL on the ice. They don't. It's two different species when you have men against women. But behind the bench or in front office positions, you need women in there, because our emotions, our sensitivity, our compassion is what gets through to these players that can't get through to themselves, where a man can't do that, because a man is going to be like, buck up, rub some dirt in it, suck it up, where a woman is going to have the patience. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to correct myself on something really quick about Cami Granato. She's the first woman scout.
She's a scout.
She's not the first one, because Kendall Coyne Schofield works for the Black.
Yeah, but we had a woman skater coach in Arizona. And we've had Haley Wickham-Heimer, but we've had numerous women in staged roles in the NHL. Okay.
And that's what Kendall Schofield's is, whereas Granato's is she's an actual scout.
It's a publicity stunt. It's a publicity stunt, because are these women being taken seriously? No. Are we hearing about them again? No. That skater coach in Arizona, I forget her name. She was the very first woman ever put into a coaching position in the NHL, and she lasted a year. Why? Why? It was a publicity stunt. It's like the Toronto Maple Leafs. They had this diversity hiring program where they hired 2 colored people, which I think is great. But are we not hiring for publicity, or are we hiring the best person for the job? I didn't even get an interview, guys. And I've worked 22 years in the industry, and I thought at least that would give me an interview. And I'm not at all being biased at this at all, but it's come to the point where women are not being taken seriously. And everything is becoming this publicity stunt. It's not authentic. And until the NHL decides, you know what, we're going to find the best person for the job, they're going to continue to struggle in sales, in growing the game, in everything. The NHL is the 4th sport out of 4 in America. And why is that? Because they fail to grow.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, there is that prevailing thing of the old school thinking. And that's what we got here. We got old school thinking in the way the game is played. We got old school thinking in who gets hired. And it's going to take somebody taking until we get change. And hopefully that happens. I don't know.
It will. That's why I'm here. But can we shift, because it got a little intense here, and we did have a little kind of side bet going with the last 10 games, but how about we make some predictions for the next 8 games? The last 8 games. Yeah, so we've got Montreal, Buffalo at home, New Jersey on the road, New Jersey at home, Philly at home, then we're on a Boston, Toronto, Ottawa away.
I'm going to say 5-3.
I'm going to say 6-2.
Yeah, screw the OT. Let's just pick wins and losses, because the OT is still a loss.
Yeah, I'm going to say 6-2.
5-3.
5-3.
5-3.
Joe, 6-2.
I say that because they've always had issues historically with New Jersey.
Lose.
That's true.
Win.
I can see them losing to Montreal or Buffalo, not because they're not the better team, but there's this thing of playing down to their opponents.
Look what happened when they played Montreal and Jake Allen just stole the game a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm with Ash. I don't know where to go. I'm stuck between. I'm just gonna go 5-3 too, because I really want Joe to have this victory if we lose.
Yeah. Well, and Boston's a really weird team. Like, they're still Boston, but there's not that same.
And then watch Ottawa beat us.
Boston's definitely missing Krejci.
They're doing all right.
No, they're doing all right, but they're definitely, you can tell that they've been losing players.
Hey, how about the Red Wings? Red Wings don't suck.
It's not terribly surprising. Yzerman's been building that team for 2 years.
I mean, 13 wins, 15 losses.
They have a goalie. Comparatively speaking, for the last couple years, Detroit is doing well for themselves.
I see Detroit growing over the next 2-3 seasons with under obviously Yzerman's thumb. But I don't expect them to make the playoffs this year.
I still don't think Blashill's that good of a coach.
Say that.
Jeff Blashill. I don't think he's that good of a coach.
All right.
I don't have information about him. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the next 8 games will probably take us into past Christmas. So hope you guys have a great Christmas and a great New Year. And yeah.
Happy Hanukkah.
I think Hanukkah's passed.
Yeah, Hanukkah passed.
So I hope anybody that celebrates had a happy Hanukkah. But
be safe over the holidays.
Be safe. Have a good.
But we got to come back after the holidays, and we have to do an Olympic recap.
If there are Olympics,
are we going?
Yeah.
All right, guys.
We'll see. I think January 10th is a deadline for that.
Yeah.
We'll see. And then if they don't go, you have what? 2 weeks to do nothing? What would they do then? Rearrange the schedule or what?
All-Star game?
Well, they're already doing the All-Star game.
like an international hockey. You know what? We should just steal all the countries and say, you know what? Screw the Olympics. We're just gonna have
Seriously, let's have our own Olympics. Let's just bring
World Cup
yeah.
of hockey.
Yeah.
China. You can even bring a team too. I mean, you're gonna last about 20 minutes, but
Yeah, sure.
let's go.
All right.
All right.
Have a good night, guys. Thank you.
See ya.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.